Hello people, this is Mark from Kharischangeworks. Guys, hope you are well. Dealing with pain. We've spoken about quite a number of ways of medicating, self-soothing, dealing with our pain. We spoke about alcohol, drugs, gambling, overeating. We spoke about anorexia. We spoke about drugs a lot. You've seen them. And this one I've left for last for a reason. Because this is the one that is probably the most visual, other than we see a lot of evidence when people are anorexic, because they go from nice, shall we say, down to nothing. Very visual. And this happens gradually. We see people who do a lot of drinking and eventually their nose goes like a purpley color. But that takes place eventually. When it comes down to drug abuse, the face goes very gaunt and everything is sunken in, but that happens eventually. Gambling, same thing. You could be well off, you can win now and lose a lot, win, and you end up being broke eventually. With medication overdose, you don't see a lot of that. But eventually, it becomes evident. But this one is instant. This one I'm going to talk about today. You see the effects immediately. In fact, when you do this particular self-medication, self-coping, call it whatever you wish, the very same minute you see the effect. And this one is self-harm. Now they are all self-harm in one capacity or another. But this self-harm is when you take a blade and you start cutting at your arms, cutting at your legs, your shoulders, your waist, between your toes. The venue where you cut is irrelevant. What is relevant here is the fact that you take a knife of some sort and you start slicing at your skin. That one shows instantly because blood flows. And when you stop the blood, you see the line. And when that heals, you see the scar. It's instant. Unlike all the others that takes time, weeks, months, maybe even years before you see the effect of the coping mechanism used to get to the place where the emotional pain has been dealt with. But cutting is instant, like I say. Now I know a few people that has cut, and from my experience, it is trying to calculate the level of humanness in the individual. Some people are so numb because of the pain, and I know what that feels like because I was there for a great many years. You feel completely numb, as if your nerve endings have stopped working. So when you cut, it's about seeing if you're still human, because you feel like a rusted old machine that's been abandoned for let nature take its course purposes. So when you feel that pain and you see the trickle of blood coming down, depending on how deep you cut, it's a signal to say you're still human, kind of. And then that immediate pain from experience it soothes a little bit, because you now know that you are not a machine or an unknown entity of some description that only looks like a human being. That in its own right eases so much stress and pain. The downside of cutting is simply this: your skin's not the same afterwards. So as a result is, through multiple times of cutting, your skin has got all these little lines on it depending on where you cut. Let's pretend you cut on your arm or your shoulder, that doesn't matter. Your skin doesn't look as smooth as it should. In some cases it looks quite horrible, but maybe that's just an indicator of the level of pain that is trying to be dealt with. Sadly, what happens is that, generally speaking, has a knock-on effect on that individual's self-image and self-esteem, and then eventually gets to self-worth. And it starts, just like a cancer, eroding it slowly, bit by bit. Just like all the others. The immediate effect is it helps, it works, and it's great. The long-term effect is there's more than one issue to deal with now. So therefore, all that pain and effort in alcohol abuse, drug abuse, gambling, starving, overeating, now cutting, they don't really solve the problem. They mask it for microscopic periods of time. So what can we do? Now, again, from experience, people have said what you do is you take an elastic band, put it around your wrist, and then you just twang the elastic band to generate a similar effect of what it's like when you cut yourself. For some that works. For other people they say take ice and hold the ice in your hand, because eventually it becomes a burning pain. For some people that also helps. For others, no. Another chap that I know used to take needles and just do this for hours on end till it becomes blunt, and then he throws it away, and then he gets a new needle and he starts on the other arm and he throws that away, and then he goes into his inner thigh and he used to just prick himself with this needle, and he might do that with 10, 15, 20 needles a day. For him, that worked really well. That chap was a drug addict, but for him it was a similar experience as to when he used to inject himself with the substance of choice, and for him it worked. Where he is now in the world, goodness knows. I hope this little series or sub-series in the grief playlist has given you an indication, at least, a bit of a clue at least, from the different ways that I know of, how people deal with pain, and grief and loss. Maybe you have come to know about other ways that I don't even am aware about. And if that's the case, put them in the comments box, because people need to know that we try and deal with pain in the best way we possibly can, even at the cost of self. And that, in my eyes, is a price that is too high to pay. My suggestion is, go see a therapist, go see a counselor of some sort. Get professional help. Go see your GP. Ask them to refer you to other agencies that deal and specialize with this kind of thing. But get the help you need. Get the support you require to break through this stronghold of pain and loss. Ultimately, I believe that we were designed and destined to experience this pain thing from time to time, but it shouldn't grip us like it sometimes does. We're supposed to go through it and leave the pain behind us or to the side, depending on how your timeline goes. Ultimately, it's there to help us remind ourselves that we are human and we are emotional beings. And when you love someone to the point where this kind of thing takes place, when they pass away or there's some kind of loss that takes place, it reminds us of emotions and how important they are. I was saying to Lara only yesterday that when you've got a heart for God, you've automatically got a heart for people, because God's heart is for people. And when you've got a heart for people and you want them to experience the best, and when that is taken away from you one way or another, somehow, somewhere, our emotions get affected in a big way. And this is when this series comes to play. There you go. Loss is very real. Grief is incredibly real. Emotions, very muchly so. And when we use alternative forms of dealing with this pain, they may not necessarily work, at least for a long time. We need to hit the source and get the right appropriate help and support to deal with the root issues. Otherwise, it's just like pruning a tree, thinking that it's never going to bear the same fruit again. So I really hope that this has helped you and it's given you some kind of insight as to what's going on in people's hearts and minds when they experience this emotional devastation. Please do all the YouTube admin. Thank you for the new subscribers also. Please tell all your friends, all your family. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, comment box, hit the bell, pick all. Guys, you know exactly what to do. For now, this is Mark from Kharischangeworks, and I'll speak to you soon.